صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. We're now going to start the program with the recitation of Surah Yasin.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم 2 فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. Could I please request you all to recite the Surah Al-Fatiha for Layla Bai, Wali Muhammad Kashifji, and for all our marhumin. Bismillah.
Thank you very much for that beautiful recitation. We're now going to move on to the main part of our program, which is a talk on the topic of natural law and the Quranic concept of Fitra, a bridge to interreligious understanding and collaboration by SeyedAmirHossein Asghari. Let's welcome him with Salat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad. SeyedAmirHossein is a Postdoctoral Research Associate in Natural Law at Baylor University in Texas. He's also a senior fellow at the Center for the Study of Middle East at Indiana University. He earned his Ph.D. from Indiana University in Bloomington, and his research interests include topics in the intersection of interreligious understanding, the Islamic intellectual tradition, Sufism, and Shiism. He participates actively in interreligious dialogues to promote greater interfaith understanding, and we're very fortunate to have him today, given the fact that he is this subject is part of his ongoing research, where he's co-authoring a book on natural law in both Islam and Christianity aimed at undergraduate students. Salat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. It's good. Yes, that's fine. Okay. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here among you, and I would like to thank the Mahfala Ali and our friends here who invited me, who thought that maybe I have something to share with all of you, and I hope that it's sort of true, but actually I'm here more to learn rather than to talk. So the topic of my talk is natural law and the Quranic notion of Fitra, and as a bridge to interreligious understanding and collaboration. Probably, I guess most of you know that natural law is not something that we learn or we talk about within the Islamic, teachings. This is not a phrase that we use. It is rather, mostly used in Christian theology. But because of a project that I'm, working with other Christians, so we work on this notion, and I will explain it, inshallah, somehow. Then hopefully we get into the main notion and meaning of this phrase. So But before getting into my discussion about natural law, the main question is or was when we started to talk with some of the, other Christian or Jewish scholars was that as we human beings are, living in multi-religious and diverse societies, within which we have many different worldviews, many different faces, and also not only different, but also kind of with theological differences. Sometimes, probably seeming that they are confronting each other. So how we human beings can live together and understand and collaborate? Because, as an intellectual being, we understand that finally we are living together. We need a coexistence. We need a understanding. We need a sort of, finding solution for global challenges. We are facing global challenges, all humanities, like environmental challenges or the challenges like injustice, hunger, probably dignity, all of those challenges. So at least we as human beings, as human beings, and then also as some people of faith, so we follow any of these religions. So how can we talk or collaborate or find a solution for our problems? Yes, for many decades, as at least in the lifetime of all of us, we understand and we know that there are some interreligious dialogue is ongoing. It's always ongoing, Muslim and Christian in Vatican or in different places, they talk. I mean, theologians, philosophers of religion, they come together, they talk about the theology, they talk about, different notions in their faces, and, it's a good gathering of, intellectuals, and then the main question is here, and then what? So they talk to each other, and then they learn from each other. However, when you learn from your friend, when you learn from your, other faces, it's also good for yourself. And in Muslim tradition, they try to learn, for instance, Christianity or Judaism in order to learn more about Islam, because Quran itself talks a lot about other religions. It's a book of dialogue. Quran is not a monologue. Quran is a book in which there are many ongoing stories between different religions. So the question was again, so yes, we have this scholar, they talk to each other, and then finally maybe they just issue, a statement, and then that's it. So is there any other way that this different religion can talk and in a way that find a kind of solution for contemporary challenges or not? So this natural law comes to the mind of my Christian colleagues as a solution to this question. And then they invited me to this project, and I supposed to walk and tell them that the equivalent, what is the equivalent of natural law in Islam, that we can, come together, walk and understand, find solution, and then still be faithful to our own religion. And not saying that, okay, you have natural law, we don't have it, so we forget about ourselves or our religion and faith, and then come to talk to you. So we came with the notion of Fitra. So I'm trying to explain that. But natural law. Natural law in Christian theology, we may, when we hear this, we may think about the nature or the law in nature. Say that in physics we talk about constances or laws within the nature, but by no means this means the nature, the rules in outer nature. Rather, it talks about the inner nature. We as human beings have a nature, have a sort of faculty an ability to understand and to discern between good and evil, right and wrong. We do possess this ability. This ability, according to Christian theologians, is something that is they call it the grace of God to human being. So every human being, whether they are religious or non-religious, but only as far as they are human beings, they have gifted by God to have a nature, to have an inner reality, to have a faculty within themselves to understand, well, oppression is bad and justice is good. They don't need to be Muslim, Christian, or Jews to understand that oppression is bad or justice is good. In another word, if we see someone, attacks the other person, and then we understand the difference between the oppressor and the other guy, and we don't need someone else to come from outside, teach us that this is oppression, this is bad. And so, no, we all understand these things by our own nature. So natural law in the word of Christian theologians means the ability of understanding and discerning between good and evil, right and wrong. But the point is that, one point is that if you are religious, you say that, yes, God created us in a manner to understand those good and bad. So this is a grace of God to us. However, within the post-Renaissance, 18th century, the modern philosophy, modern worldview, they try to say that, that they cut off human from God. They try to say that, well, humans are like this. I mean, this is the law. Written human, they didn't care about God as creator and as someone, as a creator who gifted this ability to human being. Again, in early 20th century, some Christian theologians, especially in the US, one famous John Finnis, he started to talk about, no, the reality is that this gift or this ability is gift of God to human being. Then he discerned the good and bad. And the result, what's the result? The result is that if you follow your inner nature that God has gifted you, you will kind of follow the path that God wants to walk through. This helps you to understand, to understand what is justice and, practice justice. And it helps you to understand what is, kind of probably helping others. And then you do those practice and go on, and sort of putting yourself in a way that God wants you to do. So, as I mentioned, it's a power, it's an ability that God gifted to everyone, not only to Muslims, not only to Christians, not only to Jews, but to human beings. Among most important people in Christian theology, in the history of Christianity, there is Thomas Aquinas, St. Augustine. Those are the people that kind of traditionally talked about these issues and tried to kind of philosophize it and elaborate on those, on the meanings and the scope of this discussion. And then Thomas Aquinas, in his book Summa Theologica, in an expression, he tries to say that when we as human beings understand the right and wrong, we somehow participate in the mind of God. we try to understand what God, wanted us to do, and then based on the ability that He has given to us, we follow the path and we walk in the way that God wanted us to do. And then this also results into another idea. That other idea is that as we all human beings share in this ability, and then we all understand oppression is bad and justice is good, then there becomes another notion which is which is called universal, actually, principles, especially in morals. Universal principles. We do have universal principles in moral, kind of helping people in poverty or people in need is good. So we all as human beings understand this, and we don't need a revelation to come and to say us, because we also, we understand this through our own nature. So kind of natural law, a gift of God, a gift of God for all humanity, and then participating in the mind of God to understand that what He wants us to do. And then also the last other result of this discussion was that, well, this means that there are principles, there are kind of universals, that if we understand those universals, then we understand the right and wrong too. Why they express on universals? Because the point was that for some people, in all these different religions, the idea was that, well, no, the right is only the thing that God says. The wrong, the bad, is the only thing that God says. You see, that you cannot understand what is right and wrong. You only need to wait for God to tell you what is right and wrong. What does it mean? It means that they say that if you say that God also, follows those principles, follows those universal, it means that, well, you are limiting God. You ask God to walk based on those notions of good and bad, and you are limiting God. The answer to those people was that, well, actually, God Himself created those principles. God Himself created those, universals. Justice is good, and God follows justice, but it doesn't mean that we limited God or God is limited to follow justice. So there has been such a discussion, and because of and we still, whether Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, I will tell you, this discussion is ongoing actually. But we also we do have, people that they believe actually principles and universals exist. And law of God also follows the principles and those universals. What do I mean? I mean that God never ordered or commanded you to do bad. God never ordered you to actually cause probably injustice, So these are important. Even in our fiqh, these things become more important. Does God orders us or wants us to, for instance, to do things that are unjust or not? So these are the very main questions that, later on in our ijtihad makes huge differences. So how we have to walk through these problems and questions are very important, and then which kind of ijtihads or which kind of fiqh or which kind of philosophy of religion we will have at the end. So as I mentioned, here is the saying of Thomas Aquinas, and the main thing is that he says that there is an eternal law. What is the eternal law? The eternal law is the law of God, within God, before creation, and then so as he says, the natural law is described as a participation of the eternal law in the rational creature. So the law that God has in his own creation, he embodied in you. And then we as rational creatures, and then so involving the natural inclination of humans to achieve their proper end through reason and free will. So the other also components of those people who say that, well, no, you cannot limit God, is that you do not have free will. You know? And the other components also is that you cannot involve rationality in understanding religion. You just follow the text, textualism. So that's another also problem that kind of arose from that discussion. So to summarize here, and I'm trying to follow this PowerPoint. So natural law is an ability to discern good and bad or evil. It is universal and normative for all human beings. According to religious theological understanding, it is grace of God to rational creatures, human beings. When we notice and practice based on our natural and inborn faculty, we in fact participate in the mind of God in a way that we follow the way he wants us to live to achieve salvation. Now, there's something that also you may ask, okay, is that okay if I only follow the inner side? The problem is that they say, yeah, if you do sins, they prevent you to understand what is the natural law. That's a curtain to you. So in order to understand, in Islamic fiqh, they say that the aql, or the intellect, the true intellect and the sound intellect, not every intellect, and also they categorize intellect into different degrees. So that's one thing also to have in mind. Going back from Christianity to Judaism, more or less we understand and we know Judaism as a religion of law. It's, as far as we know that about Christianity, that as a religion of, there's the law in Christianity, and the natural law comes in. But in traditional Judaism, the point is that Judaism seems to be a religion of law. What they claim, traditionally they say that, well, Torah has every law. We don't need, to kind of participate or understand or extract laws, because Torah, halakha, consists of everything. We don't need it. These are the traditionalist, Jews. But the point is that more those, not historically and contemporary scholars of Judaism, whether they are especially philosophers who were under influence of Muslim philosophers in Spain, they recognize that, Muslims, they have written, Muslims, they have this notion of, integrating intellectual understanding in, interpreting revelations. So why we should not do this? So also they started to do those. And then some contemporary Jewish thinkers and theologians also, they emphasize on the role of natural law or the role of human intellect and inborn nature in understanding and participating in the, law of God. So I hope to make it as brief as possible. Now we are going to Islam, to discuss about Islam. I talked about natural law within those traditions. And we discussed about something that, well, they say that there is something in your nature, God gifted it to you, and then if you follow that, and if you be a good and sound person, and then you follow that nature, you understand good and bad, and you are in the path of God. So what about Quran? What about Islam? So my role was to kind of participate in this discussion understanding how Islam or how Quran treats about this. There were some scholars in Islam, they tried to discuss natural law in Islam, but mainly they talked about different schools in Sunni Islam, like Ash'arism and Mu'tazilism. But, well, when I noticed and pay attention to Quran, it kind of became clear for me that the notion of Fitra in Quran is exactly an explanation of what they call it natural law. And later on also, I learned that through some scholars that Thomas Aquinas, who was the Christian theologian who discussed natural law, was under influence of Ibn Sina as well. But anyway, Quran talks about Fitra. And this is one of the very, very important notions in the Quran that we need to pay attention to. Then some very important notions, what Fitra is one of them, Hikmah is another one, Al-Aql is another one. The Quran seems to me is kind of the most inclusive book of revelation within all religions. So Quran talks about Fitra. What is Fitra? Well, it's very interesting that there is this very famous ayah in the Quran. Here you can see it. So set your heart as a person of pure faith on this religion. What is this religion? Or what is religion? Here it is. The original nature endowed by Allah, according to which originated mankind. So, what is religion? Oh, religion is your fitra. Deen is your fitra. What does this mean? It means that God tells us deen or religion is not something like a book that I'm giving to you and asking you from now on, follow this book. No. The book is zikr. The book is a reminder. But to what? To your own fitra, to your own reality, to your own nature. What does it mean? Go back to yourself. Go back to your nature. Because I have already created you based upon that thing. I have already created you based on the fitra. And I'm just reminding. In Confucianism, they call it searching for the lost heart. Every one of you has a lost heart. Go and find it, and then you become like great human being. Islam, what Islam, in the word of Prophet, what he says that al-hikmatu zallatul mu'min. The wisdom is something that a mu'min is lost. And in zallah in Arabic, it is a lost camel. You know, in the desert, if you lose your camel, then you have nothing to walk with. So Allah, the thing that you have lost. He says that go and find it. Go and find it. You have to find it. So religion is going back to your wisdom, your inner wisdom, your inner reality, your inner nature that God, in fact, Allah, according to which He originated mankind. What is that? It means that when we say that Islam is the religion of Fitra, it means that, well, there is nothing outside you. It's your inside that needs to be kind of enlightened and, kind of awakened, and then just start to move from staying, stopping, not walking, and kind of sleeping, but rather you need it to kind of awake and walk. So now the idea is that returning to Fitra, whether you are Muslim, Christian, or Jew, or even Confucianism, inshallah Hinduism as well, every of these religions, they talk about something within you. And that's something within you, is not something separated from your religion. Because all of this religion is returning you back to that nature. That nature is something that God created you upon that. I mean, this is Quran. I mean, this is not me. A nature endowed by Allah, according to which He originated mankind. Mankind, not Muslims, not Jews, not Christian, every mankind. So now the point is that, I mean, in this discussion, because probably we have the time for Q&A, the point was that we need to think about the language of Fitra when we discuss interreligious. Let's say Fitra in Islamic term and natural law in Christian term. And this is not something that we say that, oh, if I use the language of Fitra, I lose the connection with my religion. You know, that's something that when you go to interreligious discussions, you say that, oh, okay, maybe I need to kind of, you know, less emphasize on my religion in order to kind of be nice to other people and to be able to talk to them. No, religion, or the fitra, or natural law, in another word, is keeping your connection with religion, and at the same time probably give some sort of strength or support you that, well, you are talking from something that actually God created you upon that. Making and taking rationality important, taking rationality, I mean sound rationality in fact, important, because that's also the deen itself. It's not something, you know, away or different from religion. That's very true religion, is that very true yourself, and God is trying to awaken you. And then the Quran says that, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wa lirasulihi iza da'akum lima yuhyikum. People, answer to your God and to your messenger when they call you to awaken you. So, and Ali alayhi salam says that, what? He says that God sent messengers in order to, you know, awaken the minds of people. لِيَثِيرُوا دَفَائِنَ الْأُقُولِ, to, you know, kind of awaken and revive your uqul. So I think that I talked kind of more than what I needed to talk. However, there was some part of my discussion which was related to Shia Islam itself, which is amazing Shia Islam, because there are things within Shia Islam that you cannot find anywhere else. From the hadiths, if you give me 2 minutes, from hadiths, this hadith of Shia collection starts with the hadith of Kitab al-Aql wal-Jahl, the book of ignorance and intellect and ignorance. I mean, you know that Sunni hadiths start with the Kitab al-Iman wal-Kufr? There is huge difference. Al-Aql wal-Jahl, ignorance, intellect and ignorance, and Iman and Kufr. So why the Shias, they needed to talk and start their hadith collection with the Kitab al-Aql, the book of intellect? What's the importance of intellect in this school? We do have a lot of other things that many hadiths within the sayings of imams that are really very important and great, but we do not have time. But inshallah, hopefully later on maybe we can discuss those. But I thank you so much for being patient and listening to me. That maybe I'm beyond the time, but please forgive me and pray for me. Inshallah, forgive me for the extra time that I took from you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If there is any simple question, not difficult question, I will answer those. Yeah, thanks.
Any questions from either side?
Thank you very much. My question is about what happens when your fitra goes against, for example, an Islamic ruling. How do we
Yeah.
How do we proceed with that?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is one of the very important questions here. I just very briefly mentioned the idea of sin, the sin and the weakness, and, those things, according to both Muslim and Christian theologians, those are the things that they don't let you to have a sound understanding of, the fitra which is connected to God. So there's hijabs or ways on your, fitra, and then your understanding, or things that cause misunderstanding. That's one of the important, probably epistemological aspect of this discussion, that they already also, I guess, discussed within like a fiqh, for instance, where they say that, okay, aql or intellect is one of the sources of, understanding the laws of Islam. But which aql? They say that, there must be an aql or an intellect which is kind of sound aql, or which is not, mixed with sins or shahwa or other things like that. Yeah. Thanks. I hope.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for your talk, SeyedAmirHossein.
You're welcome.
It was very interesting.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
I just to check my understanding, are we saying that natural law is our understanding of fitra is, which is an innate knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within us? So if that's the case, then normally we consider this to be something quite primordial and sometimes less well defined. Is there any better definition of this natural law than just the discerning of good and evil? Is there any more we can say about it?
Yes. Let me see. I guess somehow. So you said that if there is any better kind of definition of natural law.
Classification of the law. Understanding. Just that. Just a polar definition between good and evil.
Oh, yes, actually. I mean, the good and evil is an example, also the simplest way of explaining that, you have the ability to know, and it is not knowledge. It then it comes knowledge. And then it comes, after that, the practice based on the knowledge. Probably, I guess, for everyone as prophetic hadith, this goes that, so it's your lost camel, and you have to go and find it. How do we find it? So is it not with kind of purifying your heart, a kind of suluk, they say, or spirituality? I assume that there are many other things also involved in, but when a heart is purified, that heart understands that in a situation that a human being is, that situation is helpful or harmful. And that's kind of indication. But the final goal is that fitra is going toward God. And then when sins comes, instead of going toward God, it, however, wants to find some God, but it goes to find like something else as God, not the real God. I should think more about this question. Maybe we have, kind of, but if we go into different kind of sciences, Islamic sciences, within fiqh, within usul al-fiqh or qawaid al-fiqh or tafsir or something, there are many different discussions of this or reflections of this in those discussions. But thank you for your question. I assume that I need to also more think about that question. Thank you so much. Sure. Assalamu alaikum.
The way I understood you is like when you have your own fitra, when you're born, it is your fitra which which is from God, and therefore you know what is right, what is wrong, and so on. So if that's the case, then what is it that made you different afterwards? I mean, your fitra will tell this is right, this is wrong.
Yes.
Okay? But you don't need religion for that.
Good. Yes. Thank you so much. A good question. You know, there are hadiths that they talk about, you do have two prophets yourself. One is the inner prophet, and the other one is the outer prophet. What is the inner prophet? What is the inner prophet? Your aql. You know, al-aql, hujjat al-zahiri wal-batin. So the prophet that God sends to you is the outer prophet, and the prophet that is inside you is the inner prophet. The point is that this prophet, the outer prophet, is muzakkir. Muzakkir means that the reminder, he's the reminder, reminds us of something, or tries to awaken us. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu stajibu lillahi wa rasulih iza da'akum lima yuhyikum. Answer to the prophet and God when they call you to awaken you. So the fact is that this is, the religion is calling upon you, or it's kind of like trying to awaken us, all of us, to the very of us, I mean, very nature of us. You are the angel, I mean, let's say in Persian poetry they call it, I was the bird of the angel, or a bird of paradise, and then, so I forgot now who I am, and then, so I need someone, or Rumi needs a Shams Tabrizi, for instance, to awaken and say that, okay, what your real thing is, and then go through to the past, or to the inner past, or enlighten your heart. So now the point is that a religion comes to remind us. And the Quran talks about, God tells to Prophet Muhammad that you are a reminder. Muzakkar, and Quran is zikr. Zikr means that is a reminder. More or less, because we forgot about those things, it comes to remind us.
I mean, you're talking a lot all the time about aql, but in fact, we don't trust the aql, do we? Yeah, because it always might mislead us. You know, doesn't give us itminan. So you always bring it in as if, you know, it can help us.
I guess, I mean, traditionally, aql is one of the four sources of ijtihad, okay? But the problem is that we are paying less attention to aql, because most of the time we think that, oh, aql is, you know, kind of integrated with shahwa, sometimes is under the influence of this and that. So mostly what history of ijtihad shows us is that people were making ihtiyat, they call it ihtiyat, kind of to be very cautious to go to the system, to the tool, the area of aql or intellect. But nowadays in our world, it is kind of those people who are kind of like Sheikh Zuhair can tell us more about this. But I think that we need to take aql seriously. There are many things that in this world, within this kind of diverse international global problems and challenges, we need to go back to aql and understand that when we say that God is not commending, or God is not ask you to, for instance, do harm others or do injustice, what does it mean? I mean, how should we take this principle onto the later ahkam? How should this shows itself into ahkam? That's one of the important questions, and there are a number of scholars, they are working on these things, and they are talking this, how to solve those problems properly.
Thank you so much. We do have to end it there, but thank you very much.
My pleasure.
For giving us the talk and sharing our your insights, and thank you also for coming all the way from Birmingham this afternoon.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Speak.
Thank you so much.
Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala.
Just a reminder of our next few programs. Next Friday, we have Rida Jichi, who will be speaking to us on the 6th Imam Shahadat. The week after, we have Hala Khair, who's the Advocacy and Research Officer at Medical Aid for Palestinians, talking about the situation in Gaza. The week after, we have Dr. Kauthar Abbas, who will be speaking to us on the 8th Imam's Wiladat. And the week after, we have Krish Raval, who's the Director of Faith and Leadership, talking to us about leadership from theory to practice. And you'll see more of our talks on the screen. Every Monday, we have Mums and Tots at 11 a.m. and Ladies Pilates at 7:30 p.m. On Tuesday, we have yoga at 6 p.m. and exercise classes at 7:15 p.m. for ladies. On Wednesday, we have karate and taekwondo at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, we have our Dua Kumal program starting at 8 o'clock. On Saturdays, we have the Women's Walking Club at 10 a.m. and tuition at 2:30 p.m. We have on Sunday, we have tafsir classes at 9 a.m. and Soul Kitchen, the food bank here at midday, as well as Husseini Madrasa at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Noah Hill High School. If you want to find out more about our programs, please go to sikkim.org.uk or talk to a member of the Executive Committee. Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.